call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation following.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them the wisdom to know and the courage to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Allen.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Lepore.
Here.
Mistrovich.
Here.
Reindell.
Here.
Ricks.
Here.
Warren.
Here. Good to see everybody here. To start off the new year, we need approval of minutes for the city council meeting that was held on December 16. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Is there any discussion? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We will move on to audience comments. No comment? We will move on. Adoption of agenda, Mr. City Manager, any changes?
No changes.
City Council, any changes? Motion to accept the agenda as presented would be in order.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. There's no discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We have no public hearing this evening. We have two items for consideration. The first one being consideration of special event activity request from Michigan Junkies Collection LLC. Mr. City Manager.
The City Council is scheduled to review two special event requests from Michigan Junkies to hold the following events: the Junk in the Trunk Vintage Market on Saturday, April 25th, and the Richmond Rummage and Relic event on Saturday, July 25th. These events are both very similar to the special event requests that have been submitted for the last 3 years. The layout, the largest change is that the organizers are requesting the closure of Monroe Street from Main back to where the alleys start between the two buildings there. By keeping Monroe Street open, it's a little easier on the businesses and the residents in that area to be able to come and go. But also when somebody buys a large item at the vintage market, they can pull up there and load it in there versus trying to kind of weave their way through the closure or on Main Street. So you'll notice in the maps that are attached, there's a little gap there between the closure on Monroe Street and that northern portion of the municipal parking lot that's being requested for the junk in the trunk vendors, that sort of area. That area of the parking lot is also where she would put any food vendors that may come to the two events. With that, again, both events now are just one-day events on Saturday, but we close the road and the parking lot that Friday night. And Kathy is here to answer any questions you may have.
Kathy, did you want to make anything prior to that?
Not really.
Okay. Okay, all right. We need a motion before discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve Michigan Junkies special event request to close Monroe Street from Main to the alley driveways in the northern third of the municipal parking lot for the Junk in the Trunk and Vintage Market event, including mobile food vendors, with street closure starting on Friday, April 24th at 10 a.m. and parking lot closure starting at 5 p.m. Both closures are going through Saturday, April 25th to 5, with each section of the parking lot to be utilized only if needed.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Discussion.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I can amend that motion to, at this time, to eliminate the mobile food vendors till we discuss it further at our next quarterly workshop, so we can get some clarification before we go ahead and prove it, so we don't get ahead of ourselves like we have in the past.
So eliminate the including mobile food vendors?
At this time.
Yeah.
We can bring it back, but at this time,
Well,
I would like to strike that from my motion.
Well, that's acceptable. Okay. Is that still supported? I'm not sure. Mike and,
Yeah,
was it
that's right.
Jamie, still supported?
I do not support it, so.
Okay. Then, Jamie, do you still support it?
Yes.
Okay.
But who did she write down that had?
Pardon me?
I was just, who did she write down that had it?
Well, that's why I'm
Okay.
straightening this out right now, because you both said it at the same time, and he was right next to me, so I just put Mike on my piece. I'm not sure what she did,
That's,
but
I had
Mike.
mine.
it wasn't repeated technically, according to Robert's rules. I did not repeat
Right.
the motion, so it was still up for the motioner to change his motion. So, okay, so now we have a motion.
Well, no, didn't, Counselor Mr. Roberts said he did not support that motion.
I just
Right.
don't support the change that
Oh,
Rob's
you
made.
support the change.
He did it.
No, he did not.
That's
That's
why
why I
he
went
went to
then
you.
to you, because you both basically said support or seconded at the same
Okay.
time.
Okay, so then do we need a new motion?
No.
No.
What we have right now is
I
a
struck
motion without
my mo-
including mobile food vendors, and you supported it.
Whatever he said, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I support it for
Yes.
discussion, yeah.
But if it was Counselor okay, that's fine.
Do you support Rob's motion that
Yes, I can
says no
support,
food
yeah,
trucks at
yes,
this point?
that's fine.
till-
Yes. So he did not. So
Okay, okay. I'm sorry.
again, since both of you said it at the same time, instead of restating the whole motion, the chair has gone to the seconder. So anyhow, now we're open for discussion. And Rob made your statement about, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. We had said when we were done with this issue with the mobile vendors that we were going to try to come up with some rules or something over the winter, and that's January 20th. That's 2 weeks from tonight is when our workshop is. So that does not mean that the council has decided not to allow the mobile food vendors, but you're going to have to wait probably 2 weeks before any resolve is on this particular issue. Plus, we had decided that up until that point, everything had to come to the city council prior to anything else. So, as the motion reads, it would not be included as of right now. I would expect, and I would hope that on January 20th at our workshop, when we discuss this, that we then come to some type of consideration for this request, if at all possible, that evening. Because again, our policy, standing policy right now is it has to come in front of the city council. Doesn't mean that we can't, but I think we need to have that discussion that we never had on what is it we want as rules go. So we can make it very simple up until, after that 20th meeting, I believe, or at that 20th meeting, because we're going to be meeting at 6 o'clock. Hopefully that's the first thing on the agenda.
I can,
We have
I
a
can
regular
put it
meeting,
first.
regular meeting at 7 o'clock, so we should give us an hour to give an idea of where we want to go. I would think that would be enough to address this particular event. Are you following me? You're looking at me like you're not
It's
following
okay.
me. Okay. Is everybody else following me?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's the best way of approaching it at this point, and not get ourselves put behind the 8 ball
Yeah.
on it.
Mr.
Yep.
Mayor, the only reason I had concern, and then didn't want to change the motion that was originally made,
Mhm.
was just because we had so much discussion about it, about the food trucks,
Mhm.
and there was, at least I thought, a kind of a general idea that we are going to come up with a policy.
Mhm.
But then in the meantime, it would be done case by case.
Mhm.
This event, both of these events that have happened now, this will be the 3rd year. And last year, I know there were food vendors, and that's kind of what originally got some of the discussion going.
Exactly.
And, but since we did it last year, and then also some of the feedback we got from some of the restaurant owners, was that they understood that for this special event, I got the general impression that they were okay because it was special.
Mhm.
And people are walking around, they want to have something right there as opposed to going to the restaurants, although I'm sure by the amount of people that'll be coming, it's good that technically they might not have come to town anyway, but they'll still go to some of the local restaurants as well. So now that I'm understanding we're going to have this as a discussion on, or as our workshop, I didn't want to lose sight of that and then
Right.
exclude this one.
Yep.
Because it kind of was the one that started it and was
That is
kind of,
true.
in my mind, grandfathered in. So That's the only reason I did. And I know we're all working together. We want to make sure that it's correct. It's just,
Right.
I didn't want Kathy to lose out on providing that service, because it is unique. The food trucks are all unique, as you see in the background. That's
Mhm.
something that happened. So anyway, that was the reason I did it. But as long as we have a follow-up loop that we're going to meet on the 20th, and I agree completely. It's come up to an answer so we can provide it back to her
Mhm.
and then change.
Yeah.
And then or just have another item added at a future meeting to add food trucks to this event.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We could have the possibility of adding it that night as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
If we make it the first thing on the agenda for the 20th at 6 o'clock, as we had planned meeting at 6, we don't have this meeting until 7 o'clock. That
Right.
gives us an hour to at least give some type of parameters to what it is we're talking about, because right now we have no parameters, as far as I understand. They could be playing twinkle toes on the taps and serving food out of there. We have nothing. So we have to have something to guide what is allowed to happen there when it comes to a food truck. Anything else? Kathy, anything on this?
I'd like to comment on food trucks, but not about this event.
Okay,
That's
okay.
general?
You can.
Well, thank you for the opportunity again. But I would like to, as a business owner, give you my 2 cents, so to speak, on the whole business, the food truck. I know that a lot of communities are experiencing this, and I know that you get a lot of feedback from the other restaurants on that. But I'd like to give you an example of why I believe that it's a good thing for our community to have this. This is a new thing that's coming around, but really isn't new. It's what's old comes around again, and it's kind of things that have been like that in the past, years ago. For instance, when I started doing these vintage markets, I invited small businesses like mine to come into our town and they were able to sell their products and goods, the one-day events. And several businesses have popped up in our community from these markets. Unfortunately, Hello Fancy was one of them. Now she's in Rochester, but she attended all of my markets, did very well. I feel that food trucks give us that same advantage for that type of business, for restaurants. If we let them in, and however y'all decide, but it's not, for me, for a business, I think it's a wonderful thing, because food trucks have their own following. And I found this out last year when I did have the food trucks. I was surprised at the amount of people that came to my market because those food trucks were there. They have followings. So maybe if we open ourselves up to the idea of having, whether a food truck rally or it doesn't have to, whatever y'all decide, but I think it's a good thing, because maybe these specialized people, food that they specialize in, maybe they might happen to find a nice place in Richmond, and maybe we'll get a nice Mexican restaurant that's owned by a mom and pop, or an Italian, or a Polish, or whatever. That would bring a lot to the community, and especially to retail. It's really important to have restaurants for retail, because the restaurants bring people in, and they'll drive like we do. We'll go all over to find that good specialty restaurant with that. So I personally feel that it would be good not only for my business, but for all of the businesses. And I know that the other restaurants, I owned a restaurant in town, I understand. So believe me, I get that. But at the same time, I think we need to look ahead in the future. And that's one of the things that I think that Richmond is lacking. Yes, we do have a lot of places to eat in Richmond, but it doesn't necessarily mean we have the specialty places that people will come from all over. Hamlin Pub is there. I mean, Hamlin Pub draws from all over. It's not just the Richmond area. And they're going to be very successful because of that. And they are a successful restaurant already, but look what they've already pulled to our community. So let's give those restaurateurs that same opportunity like we give when we have our markets here, to them and see if they might want to come into and stay. And it just happened. Over in Frontier Town, I have a place in Frontier Town. I've been there for 6 months now, and they have their Peach Festival, and they have food trucks. Well, guess what? Now one of the food trucks is now renting one of the spaces in Frontier Town because they've done so well. So that's what I see could happen for us, for Richmond. So again, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully maybe if we do have the food trucks here at the Vintage Market, hopefully maybe one of them might want to stay and make Richmond their home for a restaurant. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We have a second motion for the second date. Is there a
I
mo-
make a motion to approve Michigan Junk Teak special event request to close Monroe Street from Main to the alley driveways and the northern third of the municipal parking lot for the Richmond Rummage and Relics event, with the street closure starting on Friday, July 24th at 5 p.m. and the parking lot closure starting at 10 a.m. and both closures going through Saturday, July 25th to 5 p.m. with the east section of the parking lot to be utilized only if needed.
Support.
It's been made and supported. Any discussion on this? Any discussion from the audience? Back to the table?
Just, Mr. Mayor, I think the discussion on the first motion would apply to this one, so
Absolutely.
we don't need to discuss it.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We have a third motion for the on-street parking.
I'll make a motion to remove parking from the west side of Parker Street between Monroe and Water Streets, and remove parking on the south side of Monroe Street from Parker Street through 35364 Monroe Street on Saturday, April 25th, and Saturday, July 25th, from 7 a.m. through 5 p.m.
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Any discussion? I think this worked out pretty good, being one of the people that live on Monroe Street. Cars were still able to travel through there, where before, when we didn't close it down, it was real tough for, that becomes a one-lane, one-way. So we didn't have problems that weekend. Any other comments, questions, or anything? Anything from the audience? Back to the table? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Good luck, Kathy. Hopefully we got good weather. And we'll get back to you on the food. Second item is consideration of First Amendment to the T-Mobile lease agreement. Mr. City Manager.
Macomb County owns a radio tower located at the Richmond DPW yard, and T-Mobile currently holds the lease agreements with both Macomb County and the city of Richmond for use of the tower and the ground space above the tower. Administration apologizes if you're getting a sense of deja vu. We had kind of looked at this issue back in March. However, T-Mobile didn't realize that they were talking to the the entity that holds the ground and not the tower. So they were negotiating the tower lease. Once we went to sign the paperwork, there's two different divisions of T-Mobile. So this is the division that handles the ground lease. And so that's why it's back in front of you, even though we approved something back in March. This is for the ground area that the city owns with T-Mobile, or has the easement with T-Mobile. So our lease ends in July 2023. So in this last 5-year section of our agreement, T-Mobile's asking us to extend the lease another 25 years. Within that, every 5 years, we will receive a 10% increase on our rental.
Very good. Is there a motion before discussion?
Make the motion to authorize the mayor to sign the lease extension proposal from T-Mobile as presented on behalf of the city.
Support. And supported by? John. Any discussion? I see I signed this 25 years ago.
I see that. I was a witness.
I was reading it at supper the other night. I go, Lori, I signed this 25 years ago.
You thought, well, I won't be around when
Yeah,
they knew it.
yep, absolutely. That
Here you are.
That was the plan.
Here you are.
Yeah. Okay, any discussion on this? Any audience comments on this? Back to the table? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We move on to city manager's comments, sir.
Just a reminder to those that help with the decorations, it is this Sunday, 8 o'clock at Ken's, 9 o'clock at the barn.
Very good. Okay. Council comments? Dennis?
Nope, none today.
Rob?
I got one, the new state champion sign that went up recently.
Yeah.
Ton of positive feedback on it. I received this weekend already. News travels fast.
Yeah, I see it on
I
all over
got-
Facebook.
I got
People
a
taking
ton
a
of
picture by it and
Calls
stuff.
and texts and stuff like that. So that's really good to see
Yeah.
that, how well it was received. There's a lot of work that went into it and discussion, so.
The one on the north end was done on Friday. I think the one on the south end got done today,
Did
but
it?
I got to double check on
Okay.
that.
But yeah, so it's good to see. Everybody does appreciate it, so.
Yeah. It took, as you said, it took a lot of
Long
years to
time
get
coming,
there.
yeah.
It did.
The comments I had
But it's,
was, when are they gonna have them on the east and west side?
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. We're gonna have a fundraiser if we put them on the east and west. John?
No, nothing, thank you.
No, nothing.
Nothing else.
Beautiful time through the holidays. The town looked so nice. Too bad we didn't have the weather and the snow that goes along with it, but God, it looked great downtown, and St. A's Church was all lit up, and the rectory looked like it had a bunch of Christmas trees all throughout it. Whatever window you looked in, you saw. I mean, the whole town looked really nice, and a lot of people went out of their way and did some nice decorations at their homes, and certainly the businesses. And I think we've talked about, we have, was it, John, like roughly 25 wreaths that we put up that we're going to replace next year?
Yes, yeah. I
They're
think,
the ones that are
25
kind of,
or 26.
they look real
something.
dim compared to all the new
Yes,
stuff that we
yeah.
put out. So those are all going to be, that's just going to enhance the downtown and make it look really nice. And I think maybe there's some other things, that we get this thing rolling. It's like a snowball, it just gets bigger and bigger and more people get involved. So it really, it made me very proud to be from Richmond and see what happened, and how the people and the businesses cared about what happens when people drive through our town and show the pride that we have. So the calendar-wise, today being the 6th, there is a recreation board meeting at 7 o'clock tomorrow at City Hall. The city calendar, which, by the way, the new 2020 calendar is available at City Hall here. It's free of charge. It has all the meetings on it, some of the things that go on downtown throughout our community. There's various things on there, so it keeps you in touch with what's going on here. But on the 9th, this Thursday, normally the BZA and or the Planning Commission would have a meeting. That has been canceled for lack of items. As the city manager said, the 12th, if you're driving down Main Street, the 12th in the morning, that's Sunday. Christmas decorations are being taken down by the volunteers, so be careful. Cable Commission will meet on the 14th at 7 o'clock here at City Hall. And 2 weeks from tonight is our regular city council meeting at 7. But as mentioned before, at 6 o'clock we will start our workshop. We will conduct our normal meeting at 7 o'clock. And if need be, we will go back into the workshop setting, all open to the public. TIFA will meet on the 22nd at 7 o'clock right here. And a reminder that the Richmond Good Old Winter Days will be happening on February 1st this year. It's going to be the first Saturday of February. And we have a chili cook-off at that Winterfest. And
11 to 1:30.
Yeah, 11 to 1:30, and then you probably should call 727-3064 to be able to compete in that chili cook-off, because I believe there's only so much room, and it fills up pretty fast. It's become very, very successful and a lot of fun. That will be held at the Recreation Department at our community center. So there is a form that you can get. Is that on the city's or the Parks and Rec?
It's on the Parks
and
Rec
Rec's
page. Yep.
website?
Yep.
Okay. There is a blood drive this Thursday from 2 to 8 p.m. at Richmond Township offices, and I believe I just read on Facebook that it's critical. Blood shortage is very, very critical. So blood drive this Thursday, January 9th, from 2 to 8 at Richmond Township offices, and that is conducted by our own Richmond Lennox EMS. Of course, the hall walking is started back up again Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 6 to 8 in the Richmond Middle School. And I believe it's a drop-in fee of $1. That's conducted by our Parks and Rec. And the Richmond Police Officers Association, it's not too early. March 7th is their spring fling, and they are selling tickets now, $35 per person. You can call 727-1011, which is the Richmond Flower Shop, and they are handling some of those sales. Or I would imagine they can probably stop by our police department.
I think they're all through the flower shop.
Oh, is it all through the
Yeah.
flower shop now?
So-
Okay. So 727-1011, Richmond Flower Shop, to buy your tickets for the March 7th spring fling put on by our Richmond Police Officers Association. Is there anything else that we need to state on the calendar? Any other announcements? If not, we move on. There is no closed session this evening. Is there any other business of the city council? If not, motion to adjourn will be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
What's been made and supported? There's no discussion on the adjournment motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Thanks for being with us.